am the canary of Xiuba I, the prince of the Beijing social circle. Over these 4 years, I've been the most obedient in principle, but taking advantage of his business trip, she left without saying a word. He sent people to search for me thoroughly, down to the last inch of ground for 3 years. When we met again, he grabbed my slender waist in a furious grip, but then his voice trembled softly in my ear. Do you know how I've spent these past 3 years? Xiubai, I said calmly. The agreement we made about being together stipulated that both of us had to be single. When exactly was I ever single? I was planning to arrange a marriage at the time. I pushed open the door to the dark room. The room was dimly lit, and a man was sitting on a leather sofa chair. Leaning against the sofa, with both hands spread wide on the edge of the sofa. The pose of crossing one leg over the other is utterly relaxed. The black shirt's collar was fastened all the way to the top, and his sharply defined, handsome face appeared even more refined and aloof under the lights. A contradictory appearance, both desirous and restrained. Is this the Mr. Shi they're talking about? Outside the door, my dad was still being held at gunpoint by the casino, his hands pinned down, because of the 3 million she'd just borrowed. I took a deep breath, bit my lip, closed my eyes, then opened them again with a determined look. Mr. Shi, how do you want me to pay off these 3 million? When I came out of the private room, my dad was sitting on the floor, looking at me with an expression of guilt on his face. My parents couldn't have children, and my mom found me on the road one snowy day. Before the age of 10. My father doted on me and my mother loved me dearly. My given name is Tenzin, and my traveler is Xiao Xinggan. When I was 10, my mom passed away unexpectedly, leaving my dad without his emotional support and causing him to completely fall into despair. Late at night, I'd dealing in a casino. When he woke up during the day, I'd drink himself into a stupor, dazed and confused. After I became an adult, it only got worse. Just on the 2nd of this month, he was already asking me to come and rescue him. It's resolved go back now, suppressing the rising anger in my chest. I tried my best to keep my tone calm. How did you solve it? He asked. Pledged myself. Little darling, don't call me by my childhood, traveler. The anger I'd barely managed to suppress was instantly reignited by that traveler. And I glared at him with burning fury. I hated his moral decline, and I also hated myself for being unable to break free from these damned ethical constraints. If it hadn't been for the couple who found me and raised me, it'd have frozen to death long ago in that blizzard. That's why I simply can't turn my back on my only remaining relative. Last time I'm helping you. As soon as the words were spoken, I walked out of the casino with determination. The sky was blanketed with heavy, goose down like snowflakes, and the snow on the ground had been trampled by pedestrians, leaving it dirty and muddy. My mood is just like this, whether gloomy and cold. Beneath the pristine white lies something filthy. I couldn't help but raise my hand, wanting to catch the snowflakes falling from the sky. A silver roofed Maybach pulled up in front of me, and the driver got out and opened the door. I withdraw my hand. Looking at the dignified figure seated inside the car, she bit her lip but ultimately got in. Body to body. Effective tonight. The canary has been doing it for 4 years straight. Xiubai is incredibly generous toward me. In public, he always maintains an air of aloofness and coldness, but behind closed doors, his tenderness toward me is so overwhelming that it almost makes me mistake him for my lover. Someone he truly cares about rather than just his little canary. At that moment, I listened as he took a call from his family right in front of me. His refined face betraying impatience. Let's talk about the arranged marriage later. Holding my fork, I brought the snowflake beefsteak in front of me to my mouth. For some reason, despite always having loved this particular flavor, it now tasted strangely fishy and cold to me. My stomach churned, and I covered my mouth before leaving the table for the restroom. I'm vomiting all over the place. Back at the table, he was still on the phone. His tone even more agitated. I said I'd take care of it. The word handle. My woman's intuition tells me this has something to do with me. He glanced at me briefly, his eyes filled with concern. What's wrong? I pretended nothing was wrong, shook my head, and asked the nanny to remove the steak from the table. Yet, he stood up and walked toward the study, his tone firm. Nonsense, I can tell perfectly well it's important, Tut. These words sent me plummeting into an icy abyss in an instant. Fingertips feel cool. The day before yesterday at the banquet, when his close friend joked with him about marriage, he mentioned me. He said the same thing too. I can clearly distinguish between what's important and what's not important is precisely me. His friend gave him some advice. Marriage is one thing, but keeping a canary doesn't have to conflict with it. At the time, he remained non-committal. Miss Chen, would you like me to cook you some noodles? The nanny asked softly from nearby, bringing me back to my senses. He shook my head and said, I'm not very hungry. I got up and returned to the bedroom, and shortly after, I heard a car starting downstairs. The phone rang again, and Shiyubi said he had an urgent matter to attend to and would be heading out right away. He wouldn't be coming back here tonight. I hummed in response. Being obedient is one of the basic skills of a canary. Just 2 hours later, a friend who's also a canary sent me a photo. Shenzhen. Mr. Shi is celebrating Mrs. birthday tonight. In the photo, not only was Shiyubi present, but also the friend who had joked with him at evening's banquet. And this Miss? Zhu is reportedly Shiyubi's childhood sweetheart. It seems the two families even joked about an arranged marriage when they were children. But whether it was real or not, I never asked. Staring at the photo for a long while, I finally sent a message back. Oh, the news that the Shi family is planning a marriage alliance is becoming increasingly credible. Shiyubi didn't explain anything to me, and I certainly didn't ask. A month later, he took me to a business dinner as usual. During the social gathering, I went to the restroom under the pretext of touching up my makeup. Just as I was about to step out of the cubicle, a conversation suddenly came from the sink area outside. Look at Chen Xin so smart. She's nothing but a golden canary, acting like she's the real girlfriend. The tone, both jealous and resentful, was hilarious. Not only that she is almost starting to think of herself as the future Mrs. Shi, but I really envy her, mister. She has doted on her for years, and she has always been so generous with her. What's there to envy? Her good days are about to come to an end. I heard the Shi family is planning a marriage alliance, mister. She is the eldest son, so it'll definitely be him, right? I wonder how she'll be treated. The news of the marriage alliance is truly as grand as can be. I suppressed the bitterness rising in my heart and didn't want to listen any longer. Just as I was about to push open the cubicle door, but then a proud female voice came from outside. Is the XIS business something that you women even have the right to meddle in? From the outer room came a frightened reply. Oh, Miss Sue. After a flurry of hurried footsteps faded away, the restroom fell silent once more. Shenzhen, come out. A proud female voice suddenly burst into my ears. It seems the visitor has ill intentions. I don't want to meet with Miss Sue. But, obviously, I can't escape the situation now. Her brows couldn't help but furrow slightly as she wondered whether to pretend she wasn't there just then. She heard her say, I know you're in there. Reluctantly, I opened the door, and right in front of me was Zhu Jing's angry, resentful gaze. Her scrutinizing gaze swept over me from head to toe, finally resting on the V-neck formal dress I was wearing. I wonder whether they're looking at my impressive cleavage or staring at the heart-shaped jewelry worth over 100 million. A pheasant will never become a phoenix, Shenzhen. If you're smart, don't show up in front of me again after all. I'm not completely unable to tolerate your presence. As soon as she finished speaking, she walked over to the sink, washed her hands, and looked into the mirror. The expression reflected back at her was one of condescending superiority, purely patronizing. Did you hear what I said? I calmly walked over to another sink, watched the water trickle through my fingertips, and remained silent. Although I'm a canary, I've been the only woman in Shiyubi's life for these past several years, and as far as I know, the recently rumored engagement hasn't been finalized yet. Did you hear what I said? Seeing that I didn't respond, Su Jing grew annoyed. I dried my hands with a towel and looked up, giving her a slight smile. In what capacity did Miss Su say these words? Phew. Excuse me, Miss Su. No matter how long she searched in the opulent banquet hall, she still couldn't find Shi Yanbai. When I saw his childhood friend, I stepped forward and asked him a question. He just smiled at me and said, Shenzhen, grow up a bit. My face showed confusion. What does it mean? Another friend walked over and said, Su Jing is attending tonight's banquet. The Shi family is planning to form an alliance through marriage with the Zhu family, got it? If you're looking for him, HES upstairs on the second floor with Su Jing right now. I couldn't help but peek upstairs and, through the thick marble columns, heard Shi Yubai talking with Su Jing. The two families will marry, don't worry. My feet instantly felt as if they'd been plunged into mud, and I could no longer take even a single step forward. Ichi has said this more than once already. Suddenly, I realized that the person who just now acted presumptuously and foolishly in the restroom was actually me. I knew everyone here is perfectly reasonable, Su Jing said with a smile. Actually, I'm not that petty either. I turned and walked away. Truly missing Shiyuba is remark, but we Shi family don't have just one son. As soon as I stepped out of the banquet hall, my phone rang. Oh, it was the police calling me. Is that Shenzhen? Your dad jumped into the river. I stared at the recovered body, utterly dazed and stunned. Her eyes couldn't shed tears. She just sat helplessly on the ground, curling her knees and hugging herself. Passers-by standing nearby were whispering among themselves. It seems to be on the horizon, yet it also feels as if it's right before my eyes. On the 7th day after Mom's passing, Dad, drunk and holding me tightly, cried, My little sweetheart, if it hadn't been for having to stay behind and raise you, I really would have gone to be with your mom. I don't know whether what he said was true or false, but I've always taken it seriously. So over the years, no matter how reckless HES been, how much HES gambled and drunk, I've ended up having to clean up his mess. No matter how furious and upset I am. Sometimes I get so mad that I just want to shout at him, well then, why don't you just go find my mom instead? Now HES really leaving me and going to my mom. From now on, it'll really be all by myself. There are no more relatives of mine in this world. Memories flickered particularly between the happy image of a family of 3 and the painful years spent constantly cleaning up after Dad. My body felt weak and limp, and my teeth were chattering. Shi Yubai hurried over and pulled me, who was dazed and distraught, into his arms, softly murmuring my names in Zin. You still have me. This remark instantly broke down my defenses, and I burst into tears, clutching tightly at the fabric of his shirt over his chest. Yubai, on the day my dad was buried, the rain and mist were hazy. The funeral was so simple that there were only 2 of us. Me and Shiyubi. As soon as it was over, he received an important phone call, but his hand, which had been resting on my shoulder, tightened even more. I'm not available right now. An angry voice came through the phone, followed by frantic shouts. It sounded as if the old man had been so furious that HED fainted or something like that. Shiyubi's finger bones, as he held his phone, had a pale sheen. After he hung up the phone, I took the initiative to say, You go ahead and take care of things. I'd like to spend a little more time with my dad. His narrow, elongated eyes were filled with worries. I'm worried about you. The old man is advanced in age, and his health is paramount. In the end, he still left. Soon after, Su Jing came up to me, holding an umbrella. She got straight to the point. Shenzhen, did you see today's news about the marriage between the Xianzu families? As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately opened the news app on his phone. I glanced at it. On top was news of the marriage between Mr. X, my son, and Su Jing. Shi Yubai accompanied me in handling my dad's funeral and even found time to arrange a marriage match. My emotions are intertwined with pain and heaviness, causing my heart to ache in waves of discomfort. My hands became stiff and twitched. Su Jing's victorious and cutting remarks echoed in my ears. He'll be the wife of the Shi family. Right now, I'm ordering you, Leave the imperial capital immediately. Okay. On the day I left, the imperial capital was blanketed in heavy snow. In Chiuba, I was in Shanghai, thousands of miles away from me. Video Minus called me. I was in the bedroom, with my clothes already packed and ready to go. According to the news, his trip to Shanghai this time is accompanied by the Zhu family apparently. The marriage between the two families is now a foregone conclusion. Chiuba, it's snowing. I walked over to the floor minus ceiling window and, through the video feed, let him take a look at the sparkling white snow outside. It's kind of big, he said. I smiled and said, "Do you remember our first meeting was also on a snowy day like this?" He nodded and his eyes filled with tenderness. Remember. The next and tomorrow when I get back, I'll give you a surprise. Tomorrow? He'll be gone tomorrow. But I still replied with a what surprise? You'll find out tomorrow. Since my dad passed away, I've been feeling utterly depressed these past few days and just can't seem to muster any energy. When he said this, I didn't feel as playful and curious as usual and just let it drop. And the video. His assistant's voice cut in, reminding him Mr. Shi. Miss Sue and the others are already waiting outside. Miss Sue, or rather, Su Jing. I sighed inwardly. Yet on the outside I did my best to appear understanding and considerate. You go ahead and get busy. Xiubia's gaze was gentle and full of deep affection, yet tinged with concerns and zen. I've asked my assistant to book the flight. How about we go abroad for a little vacation in a few days? I gave an non-committal hon. His behavior really did resemble that of a lover, but reality, bloody and shattered, revealed that it was merely my own delusion. After hanging up the phone, I picked up my luggage and left. My dad has passed away, and I don't want to disturb me. So I asked the nanny at the villa to take a few days off a couple of days ago. I opened the door, and the icy chill of snow immediately swept in, chilling my heart. After the ride, minus hailing driver loaded my luggage onto the back seat of the car. I glanced back at the villa I'd lived in for so many years once more, and whispered softly, "Goodbye, Mr. Shi. I'm waiting at the airport, and the flight has been delayed repeatedly due to heavy snowfall. I've already rejected 5 calls from Xianbai." I raised my hand to check the time. It was already 7 p.m. Several hours after the original boarding time. Xiubia's phone rang again. I hung up again. His message came urgently. "Xing Xin, what's wrong with you?" "Chen Xin, answer the phone." "Kenzin, where are you?" "Kenzin, you're not allowed to leave, do you hear me?" From initial concern to worry and then to urgency, each message marked an escalation in his emotions. I heard the boarding announcement over the loudspeaker, glanced at the message, and ultimately ended up sending a reply. "Mr. Shi, thank you for all your care over the years. Wishing you and Ms. Sue happiness." Without waiting for his reply, I immediately blocked him. "Xiao Li, clean room V300 to Mr. Liang's friend is coming over in a bit." "Got it." Sinji. After leaving the imperial capital, I opened a tea room in a small town in the south. It's not large, but its location is excellent, and it often attracts people with refined tastes who come to enjoy its ambience. "Honey, Mommy has to get busy for a bit. Would you please sit here nicely and play with your toys?" My son lifted his face and obediently replied, "Got it." "Mom, don't wander around randomly, okay?" "Got it." Just as I was speaking, another private room called for service. I once again reminded my son, "Mom will be right back." By the time I came back, my son, who should have been sitting in the chair, was suddenly gone. My heart skipped a beat for a moment, and I screamed in fright, How, Chen Hua minus how?" Just as I was about to rush out the tea room door in search of him, I saw my son entering, holding Chen Zhenshu on his hand. I walked over and, with a serious expression, pulled my son aside. "Chen Hua minus how could you have promised your mom just now? He is the only family member I have left in this world." It wasn't until shortly after I'd left Xiubai that I realized I was pregnant. I also considered not having the child. but in the end, I decided to keep him anyway. Chen Junxuan is a painter who, like me, came to live in this town around the same time. Because we both share the surname Chen, some people mistakenly think we're a family of three. He picked up my son and gave him a gentle smile on his pale face. Don't be so hard on him. Just now, he saw a cute little puppy and called in help, running out to take a look. To spoil him, I said with a helpless smile. Her gaze flicked briefly toward the tea room's entrance, and when she suddenly saw a familiar figure appear right in front of her, she froze instantly, completely dumbfounded. See you bye. How could he possibly be here? In a small town in the south, thousands of kilometers away from the imperial capital. I've long figured that the likelihood of the two of us ever meeting again is zero. Shi Yubai, dressed in a suit and polished leather shoes, stepped over the wooden threshold. Her face, usually dignified and aloof, was now as cold as ice, her dark eyes glancing over with a chilling intensity. Her gaze swept over the son being held by Chen Junxuan. It suddenly occurred to me, without waiting for my son to turn around, I quickly pushed Chen Junxuan upstairs. You take the baby back to the first. Chen Junxuan noticed my unusual expression and glanced back at me. Without asking a single question, he picked up my son and headed upstairs. But at that moment, my son turned his head and said sweetly, Mom, don't be mad. How about we go out to eat something delicious with Uncle Chuan tonight? Me. I was pinned against the private room by Shi Yubai. Everyone was kicked out. My back was pressed against the door, and my body was stiff. He leaned against the doorframe with one hand, his dark eyes brimming with a stormy intensity, just waiting for a spark to set it ablaze. The hand pressed against the door panel was clenched into a fist, the knuckles turning pale. He is super angry. Explain. Cold words came from his mouth. The child isn't yours. That's him. He leaned in menacingly. His breath hot against my face. Beneath his handsome features lay burning fury. Just fucking ask the people outside, do they believe it or not? I know it's actually not very convincing. My son really does look like Shi Yubai, but I console myself. Given the great distance between them, not to mention that even a replica wouldn't make anyone associate them as father and son, I never would have imagined that one day Shi Yubai would show up here. He suddenly pressed down on me, wildly ravishing my red lips, extremely domineering, rough yet subtly fraught with repression. I suddenly felt a salty taste at the corner of my mouth, but suddenly he loosened his lips and abruptly pulled me tightly into his embrace. The force was so great that it almost seemed like it wanted to crush me and melt into his body. I heard a choked voice coming from him. Chenzin, do you know how crazy I've been looking for you? He started to cry. Ouch. I couldn't help but softly murmur aloud. Yet he didn't feel the slightest bit of remorse. Instead, he held me even tighter, as if to say, can the pain ever match the 3 years I've longed for you? The once arrogant Prince of Baixing's social elite now clung to me like a child, moaning in agony. Chenzin, how dare you? I thought he was saying he'd secretly given birth to a child, and my heart immediately started racing. Mr. Shi, the baby was an accident. Don't worry, I'll take him away from you right now, so he won't interfere with your life at all. Before I could finish speaking, he let go of me and glared at me with a menacing look. You're still thinking of disappearing with my son? Is he trying to take my child away from me? Thinking about this worst-case scenario, my face instantly paled. Shi Yubai, I only have my son left as my only family. Then what about me? What? Who is your child's father? His piercing gaze locked onto me, as if I dared to give a wrong answer, I'd have to face the consequences. My love, I lowered my gaze, my voice almost a murmur. He seemed quite pleased with my answer and reached out to touch my face. Chenzin, you're not allowed to run away again. Chen Junjuan was eating Western-style food with his son, his eyes occasionally drifting toward the bodyguard standing outside the window. Several times he seemed about to say something, but then hesitated, glancing at me instead. This is a farewell dinner. Shi Yubai, who's on a business trip to the south, has just headed to the provincial capital for social engagements and will be back before midnight tonight. And to prevent me from escaping, they left the bodyguards around me to keep an eye on me. HES Huahoa's dad. I lowered my eyes and told the truth. Chen Junchu on hummed in agreement. I know. Huh? Oh, by the way, the father and son look so much alike. Chen Xin, HES the eldest son of the Shi family. Hearing this, I blinked my eyes. To be honest, I still don't know exactly what Chen Junchuan, who lives abroad, does for a living or where HES from. He twitched the corner of his mouth, just about to say something. When suddenly he caught sight of a figure stepping out of a car outside the window. I followed his gaze. Bai, who was originally supposed to be entertaining guests in the provincial capital, arrived 3 hours earlier than the agreed minus upon 12 o'clock. As soon as he walked in, he sat down right away, squeezing into a booth with just the two of us. Me and my son. Then, quite naturally, he took the fork he'd been using, speared a slice of steak, and brought it to his own mouth. How come you're back so soon? K helicopter has been arranged. By the way, he also glanced at Chen Junchuan, saying, we really owe a lot to Mr. Chen's older brother for arranging the helicopter. I'm even more puzzled. Shi Bai smiled faintly and said, Xin doesn't know? Mr. Chen is the second young master of the Chen family. HES, the younger brother of that young Master Chen who took our group photo back then. As soon as he mentioned it, I formed an impression of this Chen Xiao. That year, I accompanied you by on an official trip to Jianggo. The rain and mist swirled around us, creating a picturesque landscape, and someone took a group photo of us. Photos were once used as phone wallpapers. The person who took the photo is Chen Xiao. Chen Junchuan looked slightly embarrassed as he stood up and said, it's getting late, I'd better head back now. I returned to the imperial capital with Shi Bai. You don't have the power to say no. Either your son gives it to him, or he'll go back with your son. Choose one. The villa was still furnished exactly as it had been when I left, and the nanny, upon seeing me, greeted me warmly, calling out, Miss Chen. Before I could respond, I heard Shi Bai say, it's the young lady, Missy. The nanny's shift in tone was utterly natural, but I just stood there, staring at him in confusion. Where did this young lady come from? He said. Would Zhu Jing mind? Shi Bai walked over. His tone relaxed and natural. Help me unbutton this. Previously, he used to ask me to unbutton the first 2 buttons of his shirt just like this. As I loosened it for him, I couldn't help but whisper softly, Monsieur would be upset. What's it got to do with me whether she's happy or not? Chen Xin. Zhu Jing is married to my younger brother. Hearing this explosive news, I suddenly raised my head, my pupils trembling like an earthquake. What? How could that possibly be? His thin lips pressed together slightly. You don't know. I really don't know. At first, Zhu Jing opened her phone and showed me the news. I read the exact details of the marriage arrangement. And indeed, he later went to Shanghai with Zhu Jun. After leaving the imperial capital, I stopped paying attention to any news about him. I'd always assumed he'd gotten married. A sudden sharp pain shot through his shoulders. He gripped my gaze, his eyes filled with helplessness. You won't even give me a chance to explain. I replied to that message, then turned off my phone and removed the SIM card. I didn't know it was like this. I said I'd give you a surprise when I got back. Why didn't you just wait for me? My throat felt blocked, and for half a day, I just couldn't seem to utter any more words. He pulled me into his arms, his strong embrace tightening around me, his breath warm against my ear. Chen Xin, I told you still have me. Tears welled up uncontrollably in my eyes and began to fall. But you've never said anything I thought. You didn't ask, I assumed you knew. Information discrepancies frequently cause both parties to miss each other. I was shedding tears like a fool. His phone suddenly rang. He answered it and his expression instantly turned solemn. Let's head back now. The Shi family wants to see me. As soon as we got out of the car, Xiubai picked up his son in one arm and took my hand firmly in the other as we entered the old residence. What I didn't expect was that, instead of a 3-panel trial, everyone was looking at my mother and me with smiles on their faces.